Welcome to the Powering Unique You podcast. Here, we create encouraging conversations to help you accelerate your career, expand your unique potential, and become a better leader.
My name is Jana Masik. I'm the host of this LinkedIn Live broadcast, Powering Unique You. And today, I am thrilled to have a very special guest. This is an amazing lady. She is a career and employee engagement strategist. She's devoted to helping professionals to feel engaged in this world. As a coach, she worked with numerous professionals, guiding them in their pursuit of meaningful career. As a speaker, she has led employee engagement-related sessions at the corporate women groups. This lady is also a mom of 2 cuddly boys. She is chocoholic, Zumba lover, and she is metropolitan. As an author, she's speaker and corporate trainer. She's focused on employee engagement, career strategy, and building leaders. And I cannot wait to welcome Gia Ganesh. Hello, Gia.
Hi, Jana. Thank you for having me here today.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you here today. You have so many wisdom. You have so much wisdom. You have so many accomplishments, and I cannot wait to share your thoughts, to share your perspective, to share your advice with our listeners. I believe that it's going to be a great, great session and conversation.
I'm looking forward to it as well. Thank you.
Fantastic. And yeah, I know that your career was very interesting. You had different turns, and I would love maybe to give us a little bit of a glimpse on, where you started and where you are right now, and just give us a little bit of a journey, so to speak, how you arrived where you are today.
Sure, absolutely. So I went to school and got my degree as a bachelor of as an engineering degree, basically in electrical engineering, and then I moved on to become a software engineer. One of my first jobs was that of a software engineer. And let me preface this by saying this was back in India, where engineering and lawyers and doctors is the standard profession for most people when they go to school, college, right? So anyway, so I started my career as a software engineer back in India, and I, wasn't too happy. I knew that this is not where I see myself long term, but I stuck with it until I had the opportunity to come here to the US, right? When I came here to the US, because I was already on that path, I went ahead and got my master's in information systems from Kennesaw State University here in Atlanta, Georgia. That helped in getting a few different opportunities in the software industry here in Atlanta. And I moved around between being a QA analyst, then a business analyst, and then finally became a project manager, a technical project manager, right? But again, that feeling that this is not me, this is not what I was meant to do, kept sitting with me. And I finally decided to do something about it. So I quit my job and decided to get my master's in business administration, my MBA from Georgia Tech University. So my whole idea was that will help me get away from the IT world and help me move into the business world. I really wanted to be able to solve problems which are not related to technology, right? So I got my MBA from Georgia Tech and landed a job as a management consultant. The good thing about being a management consultant is that it exposes you to different kinds of problems in different industries. I worked at, for example, Auto Trader here, worked in their sales project management office. I worked at Home Depot briefly. So there's different companies, different kinds of problems. But then at that time, I also had just had my second child, and I could not put in some of the long hours that a management consultant typically does. And I requested my organization to see if there was an internal role that I could move into. And I was fortunate enough that the company allowed me to become a part of the people office at that time, right? So I started doing various projects such as leadership development, high potential identification, and crafting a program to help high potentials within the organization. some work in executive talent search, a lot of process workforce planning and stuff like that. So I think that was where my career was literally born, because I realized that the kind of problems I wanted to solve were people related problems, So that's one advice I have for people is when you are not sure what you want to do in terms of finding what career path to take, think about what kind of problems you want to solve on a daily basis. Are they people problems? Are they process problems? Or are they more strategic in nature, very high level thinking related to programs, technology? So that's one lens in which you can consider how you want to lead the rest of your life. What kind of problems do you want to solve? All of us are going to be solving some problems, in our jobs. So figure out what it is that you want to solve. So from there, Jana, going back to my days there, I
Yes.
also was involved in helping the leaders with their executive coaching. So we had several executive coaches, but I was facilitating quite a few of the sessions. And then I realized that there were a lot of mid-level managers and mid-career folks who required coaching in the organization, because I could
Yes.
see the benefits of coaching that the senior leaders were experiencing. So when I proposed this as something that we should incorporate in our organization, I was lucky enough to have a boss who was open to the idea, and we decided to see how we can go about it. So I started working on that program, and also started pursuing my career coach certifications, because I wanted to be a coach within the organization.
Yes.
But as you know, as with most HR functions, we were severely understaffed, and several mergers and acquisitions led us to feeling overwhelmed and causing us to put some of these other projects on the back burner. So I decided that I can't wait any longer. I had waited long enough, and I loved the coaching aspect of it, working with individuals one-on-one and seeing them experience those aha moments.
Yes.
So I decided to take a leap of faith, rationalizing in my head that if I don't do it now, I will never do it later, because this is the age and this is the time in my professional life, and I can afford to take a risk like quitting a full-time job, right? So I quit my full-time job and opened shop as a career coach. So that was, I can't even remember now, 4 or 5 years ago, 5 years ago, right?
Yes.
So I opened shop as a career coach and went through an entrepreneurial experience of having my own business. Well, that was another amazing journey. As some of your listeners may be aware, entrepreneurship comes with its own set of challenges, but comes with a lot of fulfilling needs that it meets for you as well, right? So I went through that program, and that exposed me, gave me a lot of opportunities. I made a few connections. I enjoyed the coaching piece of it, but I did not enjoy the solo aspect of it. I did not enjoy being a solopreneur.
Yes.
I really missed having a team, or at least one other person to collaborate with, brainstorm ideas, to talk about it. Your husband and kids can only provide that to a certain extent. During that journey, I was fortunate enough to come across a program called Flashpoint. It's a technology incubator program run out of Georgia Tech University here in Atlanta. I decided to enroll, and I was accepted into the program. And through that, I had the opportunity to see how you can found a startup, right? I got some funding, was able to go through the program and see if I could make a difference in the HR industry. When I found myself not being happy about being a solopreneur, I started looking for opportunities and ways to get back into being in a team environment, but not necessarily going back to the corporate world. And that's when I came across this program called the Flashpoint program at Georgia Tech. It's a technology incubator program that helps founders come up with their own startup ideas. They give you a little bit of money, funding, but they teach you this amazing process called deliberate innovation, and give you insight into the different biases that we all as humans bring, and which can influence the way we ask questions and the way we build our products, the way we sell our products, right? So I went through that. I started my own company called Tagwa. It was something that I was trying to do to make a difference in the talent acquisition space. Well, long story short, my company was not as successful as I'd liked it to be. And then I found myself in 2018 trying to see whether I should move forward and put a lot more effort into raising more money for the company, or see if I could find something else. Again, with two kids at home and being a mom, I think I put my family first before anything else. And I realized the amount of time and commitment and travel I would need to do was something I could not afford to at this point in my life. So I decided to put that project on hold, shut down the company, and found this other great position as the people and culture lead at Florence Healthcare, which is a healthcare technology company startup here in Atlanta. And I've been with them since then, and I love it. This is the job I was made for. This is my sphere of influence that I really love. Right, I am solving people problems every day. I'm helping people grow and develop. I'm coaching people. Career development, career growth, career progression is one aspect of it. Then, of course, there's the tactical HR pieces that I am involved in. But I'm also involved in very strategic discussions around people in helping the business move forward. So I love what I do right now. And that's where I am. So started as an electrical engineer, and here I am solving completely different problems. And the one thing that I want people to take away from this experience is, even if you don't know what you want to do right when you get out of college, or even as you enter college, you can take small steps to move away from what you don't like. As you start eliminating what you don't like, the path becomes clearer in terms of what you do like and how you can make a difference in the world. So I urge people that every time you make a shift or a move in your career, think about, is this a move towards the career of your choice, the career or the problems that you want to solve? Or is it helping you move away from something that you do not want to do for the rest of your life? So use that lens to guide you in making that step forward. Let's say, for example, you're not somebody who's not too happy in the technology world. I'll just say that because that's where I came from. And you're taking a job moving from, let's say, project manager to senior project manager. Well, you're still solving the same kind of problems. You've just added more responsibility, maybe more pay, whatever it is. So that's truly not moving away from or moving towards what you want to do. And so I would caution you to think, hey, is this truly where I want to be, right? So that's one way, another framework to guide your decision making in moving through your career.
I love it, Gia, and I love how you such a brilliant example of that. Just because you have an education in one field, and just because you have a skill set for one type of one type of industry, doesn't mean that you're, so to speak, doomed for your life to do the same thing, for the rest of your life. You are such a brilliant example of how to pivot in life. And I also like your passion of exploring. I feel that exploration is so important. It's either in the earlier career stages or even in the later career stages. Like, even with you having so much technology, engineering background, at a later stage, you felt that that's not really where your heart is, and you felt something is missing, and you said, you know what, I'm going to step into unknown. I'm going to be courageous, and I'm going to go and explore something completely different from what my background is. And I feel that right now, in this time, in this season of uncertainty, this type of courage is so necessary. And I hope and believe that your story that you beautifully portrayed for us today will give some courage and hope to people that may be standing at that verge of, do I go back to what I've been doing for years and it's very comfortable, but yet it may not bring me passion and joy in life? Or do I take courage and step into something somewhat of unknown and start from complete beginning, complete brand new page, completely brand new experiences? And maybe also it's feeling uncomfortable that you may not know everything in that area, and it's a learning experience. And I absolutely admire your passion for learning.
Thank you.
I feel that you're amazing in just pursuing of absorbing new information, and it gives you a lot of wisdom to coach those people that you are now working with, employees and your company, because you have such a multifaceted skill set and different insights in how different type of people can grow, and what those growth opportunities may be for them.
Absolutely. And it helps me to understand the world that they live in. Like, when I talk to developers, I know I've been there. I understand that world because it was something that I've gone through in the past. So one thing I always tell myself, at least, Jana, and I try to tell my kids, is don't discount any of your experiences or education.
Mm-hmm.
It may not help you today, but at some point in your life, you'll see how it all comes together, right? So if you, for example, if you take a look at my career, it may feel like this feels so fragmented, and how is all that she did 10, 15 years ago relevant today, right? But it is relevant. All that I've learned over the years has helped me. I've done a lot of process work in the past. Today, when I put together processes, that experience comes into play. When I have to select a HR technology, I know I lived that world. I can speak that language, so I know what kind of things to look out for. So every experience that we have in life helps us in some way, and you have to have that learner mindset in order to be able to leverage all your experiences and learnings as such.
I love it. I love that these learning experiences have tremendous value. Don't discount them. They may not be completely related to what you are pursuing in your future, and yet take them as a wisdom tool set. It's like a toolbox. I can see all of our skill set and knowledge are like different tools in our toolbox, mental toolbox and experience toolbox, that we can utilize in different environments. And I agree with you, having this technical skill set and process oriented experience for you now that you're working with people give you the relatable advantage, so to speak. Then you can gain and see what their life look like, and give them some practical advice related to their experiences. And Gia, I'd love for you to share a little bit with us about your book, and maybe we can dive to give some advice that is tied into what you wrote in your book, please.
Absolutely. So Jana, my book, which I have here, is here it is. So the title of the book is Career Inc., The Business of You, right? And if you forget anything else, the one thing I want readers to remember is just this, own your career, stop renting it.
Oh, I love it.
and
I said, own your career, stop renting it. This is so good.
Yes. And, let me explain what I mean
Yes.
by that, right? Sometimes, at least I think in the initial stages of my career, I've gone through this mentality as well. You start with an organization, and then, you're waiting to be promoted. You're waiting for your manager to tell you when to get to the next level or how to get to the next level. So it almost feels like you don't have the reins of your career in your hand, career growth in your hands, and you're waiting for somebody else to guide or pull you or, help you move forward. I'm not saying we don't need that help. We definitely need that help, but it all starts here. Everything starts with your mindset, right? If you don't behave like the owner, and if you behave like a renter, it's a very different mindset in terms of how you take care. Let's say we are talking about a house, right? The way you take care of the house, the way you think about what needs to be done next for the house, maintenance wise, in terms of, appreciation of the house and things like that. As a renter, there are many things you're not going to think about. But if you own the same house, you will worry about maintaining the termites outside, or, making sure the landscapes are done, landscaping is done. So it's different. The mentality of owner is very different from the mentality of a renter.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it's very easy to shift into renter mode when we are working for a different organization, right? And that affects not only how we do our work and the value that we add to the organization, but it also affects our own career progression. And that's what I want to focus on today. And that's the focus of this book is, hey, please do not rent your career, own it. You own your,
Yes.
You are responsible for your career progression. And the only way to do it is, having that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this book goes into, Jana. And the framework that I like to call is the business of you. So what I mean by that, Jana, is you are like every company is built around a product or service, whether small
Yes.
company or big company, right?
Yes.
So you are that product or service in this world that I call the Career Inc. Like your company is called Career Inc. and you are the product or service. So what can you be doing in order to make sure you act like an owner? And then, tactically, I provide steps in terms of how you need to approach your career and what can be done in terms of the different departments that an organization would have. A typical organization has, strategy department, maybe finance, accounting, HR. And I break down your career into those departments and tell you
Mm-hmm.
how you can take tactical steps in order to, with the ultimate goal of moving forward in your career.
I love, Gia, how you breaking it down, yet your base, your structure, and your start is with your mindset. So it almost like how you think is going to shape how you live, right? It's going to shape how you speak, how you behave, and what ultimately comes in your life as a reality. And that is so important in our life in general, because we can take our life as a renter approach and just, go through the motions, and career takes a big chunk of who we are, because that's our, main of our activities, our profession. Who, we a lot of people identify who they are with what they do. Now, how you see yourself and how you see your career, your structure, is so important, because if you're just expecting some outward circumstances or people drive your success, imagine a company doing that, right? They're not going to be successful as much. And what you're focusing on, bringing people back to saying, take the ownership. Your career is yours. You are your career. What you design and decide and think through can come into being. And it may not come into being overnight, but like looking at your example, you take small steps toward discovering yourself, discovering what you're passionate about, discovering what you're energetic about, and then taking small steps and learning and educating, so you will arrive eventually at the point where you really love and thrive in what you do, and the job and the career that you design for yourself would be exciting, and would be like you're gonna wake up and you can say, I'm gonna ready to take on this journey, instead of just going through the motion. And that mentality is so important. And I would love for you to give us a little bit of that views on tactical approach. You say, okay, this is a vision, this is a mindset. Now let's look at tactics. Let's break up into those departments, so to speak. So how do you relate those departments, say sales department or human resources department? How do they relate to my career or the career of our listeners that are trying to maybe go back to lost a job and go back to job market, or trying to advance in their jobs? Maybe they are in a more of a junior role and they want to see how they can grow and progress, and advance in their role as well.
Absolutely, Jana. So before I jump on that, one thing I want to highlight to your listeners is that I think you already captured it, but I just want to add one more level of detail to it, which is, we spend a lot of time working. For some people, your professional identity becomes your personal identity. But for those, even if it does not, since we spend about 40 to 50 hours or even more working, which is more than half of our waking time, right? I want us to understand what your career actually gives you, right? And if people are familiar with Tony Robbins, he's a motivational speaker. One thing that he says is, before I butcher this, let me quickly find that and tell you the right thing, right? We all have 6 human needs, which are certainty, uncertainty, variety, significance, connection, growth, and contribution. And I go into detail about this in the book, but if you look at it, our career provides all these 6 human needs to us, right? So it is only fair to you to make sure you are in a career that fulfills you and provides all these needs to you as well, right? So I just wanted to point that out before I get to the other part of your question.
Yes, this is really important. Thank you, Gia.
So you said, let's talk about tactics, and maybe there are people, especially in today's job market, we are right now talking during this, the peak COVID season right now, and a lot of people are out there wondering if they may have lost their job or they have that uncertainty. And one thing I want to remind them, I don't want to go into all the departments and stuff, but let's talk about just sales and marketing, for example.
Yes,
like
this is a good one.
Right? Yeah, like I said, you are the product, you are the
Yes.
service, right? So marketing is all about bringing awareness to a product or a service in any company. So in terms of your career Inc., which is your company, how can we bring awareness to you? And one of the great examples is what you are doing right now with me, Jana, right? You are putting yourself out there, talking to a bunch of people on LinkedIn. That takes a lot of courage. You don't have to do exactly what Jana is doing, but you could do something even smaller. You could have just a few sentences of posting on LinkedIn showing your expertise. You can write blog posts on LinkedIn, right? You can comment and make a meaningful comment on other people's postings. So there's various ways in which you can bring awareness of you and your expertise in the professional community that you belong to, right? And in terms of sales is all about closing the deal. Is how do you get somebody to buy a product or service? So in this case, how do we get somebody to buy you, or basically buy your expertise and value? First is, of course, to convey the value proposition correctly, which is what we do in marketing by sharing how you can add value, by showing that you have insightful comments and thoughts and things like that, right? In the other world, in the pre-COVID world, we would go speak at conferences. We would, go to many other trade shows and things like that. The same thing is happening right now virtually. So people just need to be aware of it and find every opportunity to indulge with the purpose of making a difference in that community. It's not, don't be very self-serving. Always have the mindset that I'm going to make a difference, and how can I make a difference, right? It's not about what can I get out of it.
Yes.
And which you're doing so beautifully, Jana. I mean, you've been hosting this for several months now, and with the sole purpose of sharing the expertise that the community has with the rest of the community, right?
Yes. Thank you.
So back to sales, how can you sell yourself? Basically, as long as you understand that sale is about conveying what you can do for somebody, then it becomes a lot more easier. In my position right now, I look at a lot of resumes, Jana, and we live in a time and age where there's so much knowledge and information available about all this. But still, when I look at certain resumes, it's like, hey, I don't know what it is that you can do for me. So one thing I would urge people to think about is, when you put in any material of yourself, whether it's a resume, whether it's your LinkedIn profile, people should be able to say, or when they look at it, they should be able to understand, what is it that you can do for me?
This is really good.
Right? As a recruiter, as a hiring manager, that's the only thought in my head. What problem can this person come and solve for me?
Yeah.
So when you write your resume, keep that in mind. What's in it for the reader? It's not about you. When you just, many resumes, the way they're written is, hey, these are my responsibilities. This is what I did. Well, you did that, but you didn't explain it in a way that I understand what you can do for me. So, sharing metrics. Hey, I did this, and I achieved, the common format, Jana, that, is, accomplished X by doing Y, right? I accomplished a 33% reduction in the quality assurance tickets by implementing these new processes. So I know when I read that, if I'm a QA manager who's hiring a QA analyst, I'm like, oh yes, that's what I want. I want you to come and solve that exact problem for me. I want you to reduce that percentage, have a similar result. So keep that in mind when you're crafting your resume. Also, another thing that is common knowledge, but I again want to remind people, is you cannot have the same resume and send it to the same to different organizations. You have to tailor it to the organization's problems. And when you read the job description, you kind of get a sense of what is it that they're looking for this person to come and do. So you have to make sure you're speaking that same language, firstly, so that you can get through the ATS systems and not go through a black hole that the ATS system sucks you into.
I feel the ATS system, a black hole, needs to be like completely one big conversation to give insight on what it actually looks like, right?
Yes, exactly. And secondly, once you get past the ATS, so that when a human sees it, they understand that you can do this for them, right? And, before I was living in this world, when I used to read the statistics that, recruiters just spend about 7 seconds on your resume, I used to be really shocked. I'm like, how can they make a decision in 7 seconds? Well, now that I'm on the other side, I'm like, oh, yes, this makes sense. I can do it in less than 10 seconds myself. I can just glance at the resume and I know exactly when.
You know exactly what you need to look for, exactly what stands out right away, because you look at so many, then you develop the skill to look, what is that stands out to me and what am I looking for? And those insights that you're sharing, Gia, is so valuable, because not many people have the experience and not many people have a way to look inside of HR recruiter, so to speak, what it looks like on the other side. So this is very, very valuable. Thank you for sharing these tips.
Absolutely.
So so you mentioned you mentioned that. I love how you structured it, because I feel many of us struggle with this sales department.
Yes.
Many of us
Yes.
struggle. You pointed on the right, big pain point is like, this is the thing you really, really need to focus on, because a lot of people, they feel uncomfortable. It's like, how do I sell myself? Well, how do I sell my skill set? So the sales is really, and marketing yourself is really uncomfortable for many people.
Yes.
And I love how you pointed out to flip the view of just showing about, look at me, who I am, because that's what really uncomfortable, because a lot of people, they don't like to be, look at me, but that's how we seem to be portraying the sales in a way, to the position of, what is my prospect, or what is my potential client, or my potential employer is looking for, what problems they may be facing, and then how can I come with all of my experiences, skill set, and expertise, and knowledge and wisdom to help them solve those problems and showcase that I am the perfect fit for the position that they're looking for. It's keeping in mind that the person who is going to benefit from you coming in and delivering the value and solving those problems that they're facing right now, and showcasing your value in such a way that is going to be attractive, by showing that you have achieved and you have resolved these types of problems by adding some numeric, tangible information, and that's in the resume, on your LinkedIn, and in your conversation. And the other important point that I love that you touched on, the marketing yourself, is positioning yourself on LinkedIn and start being more visible, start being more active in conversations and comments. And we have actually a couple people checking in today. We have Janet Turner saying, hi, ladies. Thanks for a good conversation. Thank you for joining in, Janet, and supporting us. And we have JT, Dr. JT Shim saying, hello, ladies. So good to see you here as well. And Gia, I would love for you to give us, so we started with the strategy, then we went into some tactics. You gave us, okay, let's focus on this one, sales department. What other good tips that you believe people can implement in their job search or in their career growth? And by the way, before we jump into that, I do want to say, if you're interested in Career Inc., the Business of You book, you can find it on Amazon. I would love myself to get it, so I'm going to get it for sure and then share with you after I read it. I think it is really phenomenal, going to be a phenomenal read. So go get it on Amazon and equip yourself with some tools that's going to help you to grow and advance your career. So Gia, please give us some more maybe tangible and some action-oriented nuggets that you believe would be helpful to our listeners and viewers.
Absolutely. The only other big advice that I have to people, that irrespective of what stage of your career you're in, is to keep a list of your accomplishments. Okay. And I'm not trying to promote myself or my product, but I believe these are the most essential stuff, especially for the day and age that we live in. So this was a problem that I figured out when I was in my entrepreneurial journey. And I was supporting a lot of women. We, get into this conversation. We talk about, hey, let's see what you've done. Most of the conversations around about moving out of a current job and moving into a new job. And we talk about, okay, tell me a little bit more about what you've done in the past. And there were very few people who were able to eloquently and tangibly tell me exactly what they have done. Because we're humans, we forget, there are many small things we do on a daily basis that actually makes a big difference in some of the bigger projects that we are working on. But we forget that. If you ask me what I did 5 years ago, I'm just going to say, hey, Jana, I think 5 years ago I founded my business, right? But what are the 100 different things I learned in that part of my career journey? And well, I don't remember unless you ask me specific questions. Maybe that may trigger a memory enough. So all that I'm trying to say is, in order to move ahead in our career, It's very important to track our accomplishments. And this is what I created as for that as well, a daily career journal. It gives you 6 areas in which you can track your accomplishments. I don't want to get into the details, but the idea that I want all of us to remember is that we need to be aware of what we are doing on a daily basis. How are we adding value to an organization, to your own business? It doesn't have to be only some other organization that you work for. How are you adding value on a daily basis? Keep track of that. And then, of course, you need to understand the impact that it has on the business, the team, whatever it is that it has an impact on. And how did you measure success with it? And, the journal covers all that. The point that I'm trying to make is we will forget over time. That's one. Secondly, especially for women, I've noticed that we have a tendency to dismiss our achievements. Hey, somebody will say, you did a great job. No, not a big deal. It's just part of my job. I didn't do anything. Yeah. Well,
I have to repeat that just to make sure our women, ladies, listeners are listening to this. We have a tendency as women, we have tendencies to dismiss our accomplishments, and that is tied so much to self-talk. And I didn't want to interrupt you, but I wanted to emphasize that because it is so important for us to just realize this and stop doing this and embrace our awesomeness, embrace that we do achieve a lot of good things and be proud of those things. Gia, please continue. This is so good.
Thank you for emphasizing that. So the way it impacts our career growth is that when we sit down to, let's say, when you walk in for that performance review meeting, and you have to think about, most organizations ask you to do a self-review before you go into that conversation with your boss. Sometimes I've found myself in the past struggling to write down some of the things that I should have remembered, or that I've probably forgotten or dismissed because I thought it was part of my job, right? So when you want to sit down and when it's time for a promotion or time for a job change, you want to have the right data points in order to craft a good story to present to the hiring manager or your boss, right? So I think that's why it's very important for us to have this. And also, to address what you just said, Jana, because we sometimes tend to dismiss it for whatever reason, it also helps us build confidence in our own worth. We're like, hey, look at what I did 3 years ago. That's great. It helps build that confidence and reinforce that the value that you bring to the table is important. Let's say there are people who have lost their job and lost confidence because they haven't found a job in, let's say, 6 months of job hunt. It's very easy to go down that rabbit hole of, maybe I'm really not good and that's why I'm not getting a job and things like that. But this list of accomplishments that you keep is what's going to help you see that, hey, no, you've solved all these kind of problems in the past. And once you're given the right opportunity, you're going to go back and do things, amazing things like what you've done. So there's a ton of benefits to doing this. And I strongly urge all career professionals to keep a list of their accomplishments. If you want, you can use something like the Daily Career Journal. It's available on Amazon as well. But
so is it a Daily Career Journal, and it's on Amazon? I will drop the links to those to your book, Gia, and to these Daily Career Journal as well. In the after we finish the episode, I think this is really good. And just maybe give us a little bit. I am interested myself, a little bit of a structure of your journal and what are the key. You said there are 6 key points that are important to keep track of.
Okay, so I'll go through this quickly. The way the journal is structured is that it is divided into the goals section, which is one part. Then it has a daily, weekly, and quarterly section, right? Mm-hmm. So what here I'm urging you to do is track your daily accomplishments in 6 key areas, which is the actual work. Wait, I can't find work contribution, brand building. What are you doing to market yourself? Mm-hmm. Community contribution. How are you contributing to, for me, example, the HR community? Professional skills. Are there things that you're doing to build your professional skills? Soft skills. Let's not dismiss the importance of soft skills.
Oh, no.
These are very relationship building. Like for you, Jana, I think you're going to have a ton of entries on this on a daily basis. So these are the 6 key areas that you track your stuff on. In addition, you can put any feedback that you receive from colleagues or comments, the best experience of your day. This is my favorite section. because only when we are aware and being very cognizant of, hey, this is what happened to me today, this was the best experience I had, can we try to make that happen again, right? So being
Yeah.
aware is very important. And then the section about how did you go above and beyond what you were supposed to do in your role.
Oh, I love this. I
This is what
love
you,
it.
so
I,
I urge people to do this on a daily basis. And then
this is really, really good.
at the end of the week, I'm asking you to look back at your past 7 days and say, this week I created, what did I create? Maybe I created a new process, maybe I created something else. I improved, this is what I improved. I reduced, I prevented, I took consistent action in, and I let go, right? So on a weekly basis, you look back and see what have you done. And then at the end of the quarter, I ask you to identify 6 key accomplishments based on all that you've done. Talk about the impact it has to your business or to the team or to the organization, and the measure of success, right? So it's a very logical way to break down this whole thing. Again, people do not have to fill every box every day. Sometimes you may have only one box to fill, which is fine, as long as you make it a habit to jot down whatever way you've moved the needle forward in your career.
I absolutely love this framework, Gia. I believe this is really a good foundation for, and I'm gonna look into this myself to incorporate some of this in my daily routine. And what I feel stands out the most to me with how you broke down this framework is that you've highlighted, because even looking back at myself, many of us and many professionals, they tend to focus on skill set that are related to their job, more of a hard skill set, right? And this is what we go to training for, and this is what we usually execute in our jobs. So the hard skill set, is so important for our growth. Yet it's just one component of the entire, piece or entire picture. And the way you broke it down is community, relationships, soft skills. And soft skills is how do you position yourself? How do you relate to other people? How do you present? How do you speak? There's so many things that can help you as you develop your soft skills to stand out above the noise or above others. And not to say that you diminish others, but you really help yourself to elevate. Again, going back to marketing yourself, you're elevating your brand, you're elevating your proposition, the value that you deliver. A good presenter that has a great presentation skills, that has an engineering background and presenting on engineering complex ideas with the very simple explanation that is easy to digest, is so tremendously valuable, right? Versus to an engineer that only knows the engineering verbiage and can only speak, engineering language, and not very comfortable with presenting in front of people. So those are the skill set, and those 6 areas that you've portrayed, I believe, are very, very important for holistic development, us as a person and also as a professional that can move our career, the business of you, forward, right? Move that one, like I love what you said, is this analogy of moving the needle forward. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, it takes persistence, it takes perseverance. And with your journal, with what you portrayed, the system that you created, it takes consistency, right? It's a daily habit. It's consistency that you evaluating yourself where you are. So it's kind of being accountable to yourself. Again, taking the ownership where we started, taking the ownership of your career. So you evaluate where you are. You don't wait for your manager to evaluate you once a year. You take this accountability, the ownership, and you evaluate your progress. You set your goals, you see where you're moving forward, and you take action. And this really, really going to help you position yourself, help you grow, and help you accelerate your growth, right?
Yep.
I love it. I absolutely love all of the brilliant tips that you've given us today, Gia. And we have, I think our listeners are going to have tremendous value in just, listening and absorbing the information, and maybe hopefully implementing some of those steps and practices in their life that's going to help them excel in their careers.
That's the hope, Jenna, for all of us to really take charge of our careers and move forward the way we want to move.
I love it. And Gia, is there any other, closing tips or any kind of encouragement that you can give to our listeners as a closure for our
Um,
conversation today?
I think people are really smart and intelligent, and they have a lot of information at their disposal. So just don't try to implement too many things. Pick a few things, work on them consistently, and see the actions and results that you need to take in that before you try to do too many things. I've been there, being overwhelmed by too much information, and finally not taking action in anything because you're trying to do too many things at the same time. So just pick one or two things, whether it's from this conversation or from anything that you read or come across, and take consistent action in that, especially now during these COVID times. If you're looking for a job, take consistent action in terms of reaching out and building relationships. Or if you're already in a job, then seeing how you can be advancing yourself. But also keep this in mind, I think it's very important to talk about mental health. Jana, I don't want to
Yes.
ignore that at all.
Yeah.
Don't feel the pressure if you are in a job and you feel like you're too much anxiety around trying to do any course or any professional development related activities. It's fine. Nobody is forcing you to do anything. Your mental health is the most important thing. The reason I want to point this out is there are people who are feeling pressure to do things because there's a perception that we have more time on our hands due to the COVID situation. It may not be, or it may be the case, but if you do not feel like doing it, don't force yourself to do it. It's not needed. We will always we will find time to do things when we want to. So take care of your mental health as well.
I love this closing advice, Gia, that mental health is so important. With mental health, with this peace of mind and calmness from within, that's the place where we want to come from to start building something meaningful in our lives and something that's going to bring value to other people. And when we are anxious and worried and uncertain and fearful, all of those things really fog our perception, fog our brilliancy, and not giving us the best, not helping us to make the best choices in our careers or lives. So I do agree with you that we right now in this season, I feel we need to radar and measure, so to speak, our own mental health, and then be kind to others, knowing that others may be struggling with some things. There's just so many uncertain things in our lives right now that I feel each one of us have areas where we possibly struggling with. So being kind to others and extending maybe helpful hand or just helpful ear. Sometimes listening to someone is helpful. It can go a long way. Well, thank you so much for joining today. It has been a pleasure speaking with you, Gia. I see we have some information here. Evelyn is saying great insights. Thank you. And we have some people listening in, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of people listening after. I appreciate you joining in today and giving us such an amazing advice, Gia. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Jana.
It's my pleasure. Well, it has been a great conversation. I hope that you received a lot of value from this discussion, and I believe that by sharing our wisdom, by sharing our voice, and sharing our experiences and expertise, we can build a strong community, we can support each other, and we can change this world to be at a better place. I cannot wait to see you again next time. And until then, you be well and be safe. Bye.